Good morning, Matt Soper here, Hampshire Carnivorous Plants, and today we're going to look at a plant that's a real favourite of mine and of a lot of people, and we've been asked about this so much this year. People do worry about these. This Cephalus Follicularis. Now I'm going to go through how I grow them here on the nursery, and I would like to start by saying, look, there is no right and wrong way to grow any of these carnivorous plants. I'm going to show you how I've had success and how I grow them myself here. Now I'm sure there are people all over the country, we're in the UK here by the way, that have different ways of doing different methods, different compost and what have you. So I'm just going to show you how I've had success and how I grow them. Now I'll start off by saying we grow them firstly, the most success I've had is in an unheated greenhouse here with our Sarracenia. So it goes down in here to the coldest we've been with Cephalotus is probably -10 centigrade. So they freeze in their pots. So spring and summer, we like to stand them on damp capillary matting. And you can see here, capillary matting is great for Cephalotus. They don't want to be bone dry, they don't want to be too wet. And this is just right for them. You can see if I press down on the mat, can you see the water come out from around my finger? That's important, keeping them just damp. Another thing I found, they hate water dripping on top of the plant. You can lose plants quite quickly, so if you've got them in a greenhouse and you've got drips in there, make sure the Cephalotus are not under that, otherwise you will lose the plants to rot. And this seems to be the biggest problem people have with them, is rotting and powdery mildew in this country. Years ago I used to have a problem with botrytis. Now we don't spray in a nursery for botrytis, but we just don't seem to lose them, and I think the reason for that is because we are quite diligent and pick them over, and if you come in quite close I'll show you what I mean. So if you get any dead leaves on the Cephalotus, pull them out, anything dead. You do need to keep on top of them. Clean and tidy plants and you'll be quite successful. This one has had a spot of mildew in the past, you can probably see from some of the older leaves, but old leaves there. So anything old and dead removed from the plant. Well, this larger specimen here, this is the same. Just remove anything that's dead or old from the plant. We've got some Drosera capensis that have popped up in here. I'll remove those as well. Don't really want those in there. Some more dead leaves. Now, we've got a lot of people have been calling us and saying, oh, my Cephalotus is just growing leaves. We're not getting any traps on them. They tend to grow in flushes. You'll get a flush of leaves followed by a flush of pitches. That's quite normal, it's nothing to worry about. This is another plant, personally, I like to remove the flowers from. Reason being, they're very slow from seed, very similar to Darlingtonia, I find, and I prefer to propagate them from leaf cutting. And I'll show you how to do that. It's successful, and you'll quite quickly get new plants as well. So we use for that are leaf pullings. So this is quite a large plant. If you've got a small plant like this, I'd leave it a bit. Let it get a bit bigger before you start pulling pitches or leaves from it. But how I would do it is I find a nice obvious large leaf, and then you need to pull down as far as possible till you get white fleshy material. Can you just see? Like that. That's a nice example. Yep. So put that there for now. Let's find another one. This one, quite a large. I can't really get down to the bottom of that one. I'll just show you what I mean. So if I was going to get that out, that is useless. Okay, don't even bother putting that in the pot. You'll be very lucky if anything comes of that. Got here, I can feel this one down quite a long way. Hopefully, fingers crossed. It's too short again. That's a shame. Still, let's have another go. This one feels a bit better. There we go. So when you get a bit of white fleshy material, that's perfect. Now I've had most success with these when they're in a plastic pot with our Com1 compost and we just pop them around the edge of the pot like so. Now you don't have to just use leaves, you can use the pictures as well. So let's have a look. But a lot of people don't like to do this because it spoils their plants, which is understandable. So that's a rather nice picture. Let's pull that one off. Tracking it right the way back down. Ooh. There, that's perfect. That's a really good example. There we are. And we do the same. Push them down between the plastic and the compost, like so. I find you normally get a couple of leaves coming up from one of those after about 4 or 5 weeks, and the time to do this would be in the summer months when it's a bit warmer. It's quite easy to do, you do get good results, and you'll get a reasonably sized plant quite quickly. So with the Cephalotus, I'll just run through again. Overwintering, cold, unheated greenhouse is fine. Keep them just damp. Capillary mat is a really good way of growing them. It's much better than standing just in rainwater. Don't let any drips fall onto the plants. Personally, I like to remove the flowers from Cephalotus. Compost wise, we use our Com1 for Cephalotus, which is what we use for fly traps and Sarracenia. And yeah, they're not that much more difficult than a lot of the other carnivorous plants. They are slower, they are quite a bit slower growing, but you can see this is quite a nice large specimen. This is probably about 9 years old, 9-10 years old. And again, there's a few more dead leaves in here that need to be pulled out. I think that's the key. The key is keeping them clean, tidy, picking out any dead rubbish. That's a good thing to do with them. Right, another point we've been asked about is when and how to repot or pot on the Cephalotus once it fills its pot. Unlike most carnivorous plants, which like to be quite restricted, I find, Cephalotus is one that likes to be in quite a large pot. So big pots do mean bigger plants. And it's best to pot them on, I find. And when I say pot on, this is a good point for a video. I mean, don't strip any compost away from the roots. There's no need at all. So this is a 9 centimetre, which, you know, a little bit big for that pot now. This is a 1 litre eco pot. And so this would be ideal for this size plant for at least a couple of years, I would think. So I put our Com1 into this pot, like so. Gently remove the Cephalotus from its old pot. Pop it in. Incorporate compost gently around the outside. Like so. There we go. Yeah. And then that could go back on to a tray or a source of capillary mat in an unheated greenhouse or conservatory. You can grow them in frost-free conservatories. When I was younger, I was very successful on a north-facing bedroom windowsill with Cephalotus. Extremely successful, got to plant to quite a good size. And that was in there year-round, so that goes against a lot of the rules, I would say. So, as I said earlier, all I can do is tell you how I've got on with them. But the most success I've had with them is unheated glass, capillary mat, no drips on the plant from above. Don't go spraying them and misting them to keep them humid. They just don't like that. They're very tight clustered plants, and once you get moisture down in between the leaves, you'll find that that's when you get your problems with botrytis and, you know, mildew, powdery mildew, because they're so congested. But that's the habit of the plant. That's why we like them, I think. They look great. But you can imagine growing like this, they do tend to harbour nasties and can get rot. So keep on top, pulling out dead leaves, as I say. Keep them chest damp rather than wet. Don't spray them from above. I think that's just about it really. So thanks for looking, and I'll see you again.